Good morning or afternoon at this point, and welcome to the first lesson on part B of the new exam format. So part B is different to part A. Whereas part A we covered creating tables, ERDs, queries, reports, and then we tested and evaluated them. Part B is all about forms. It's all about forms, and you then test and evaluate them. As a result, in part B, you will be given a database to start with. Okay. The reason for this is if you mess up part A, it will not in any way cause you to not be able to attempt part B. So whilst part B is still on the same scenario, the Sherbrooke estate in this situation, it does kind of start from a different point, and nothing from part A will affect what you do in part B. So on your OneNote at the top here, embedded onto the page, is the part B database. You will need to download that, and that is what you'll need to be working through in the task on this. Now, it's a 2-hour exam, whereas part A was 3 hours. It's only 2 hours. It covers creating 2 forms like we did in the previous ones, and then you test them and you evaluate them. So the first couple of pages of the exam paper just goes through the usual stuff, telling you how you would save them. There's 3 tasks, 3 activities: activity 6, activity 7, activity 8. Activity 6 is creating the forms, activity 7 is testing them, activity 8 is another evaluation. Activity 6, they reckon hour and 10, 20 minutes each for the other 2, and that gives you a 10-minute sort of leeway. So the scenario, here we go, is a little bit shorter. Sherbrooke Estate and Safari Park has partially developed a database that will eventually merge the database you created in part A. The estate has a gift shop. The gift shop sells products that are purchased from suppliers. The suppliers can take 1 to 5 days to deliver products. The gift shop managers must make sure they keep information about the products in stock up to date when deliveries are made, and the database will record information about the suppliers and products. That's just telling you about it. This is kind of the important stuff here, especially the second one. Suppliers can take 1 to 5 days to deliver products. We then get on to the task. So activity 6, which is an hour and 10 minutes, is split into 2 parts. We're just going to do the first part of that today, which is the first form. Now, much like the previous one, there is an easy form and a harder form, and the easy form is just the only complex stuff you have to do is really in the saving, whereas the second form may have other stuff we need to do with it. So for the first one, an input form to add a supplier. The form should be ready for data entry. The supplier's name, telephone number, and number of days delivery must be present. The number of days delivery must be within specified range, which we looked at earlier on, 1 to 5 days. A valid data should be appended to the supplier's table, so we've got to save it, and a save message is displayed. That's an important bit. We're going to have to remember that bit. A suitable error message should appear where invalid data has been used, and that's it basically. So we're just going to create a form to input data to that, and we need to create relevant messages if all the data isn't there, and we need to create a message to say it has been saved correctly. Nice and easy. Right, let's have a look at the database itself. So the database itself has 5 tables on it. I think actually if we look back here, it says here you'll only be required to use the table supplier and table product. Okay, and in this first one we're just going to be using supplier. So let's get the database back up. So let's have a look at table supplier. We just got the supplier ID, the supplier name, supplier telephone number, and the delivery day. Done. Now, interesting thing, this new at the bottom, the fact that it says new here, is telling me this is probably an auto number. Now, in the other ones we've had, the ID has just been a numeric field. Okay, in Access, in reality, you would use an auto number as opposed to a number for your ID. An auto number basically means the database automatically puts a unique number in there. Now, if this is the case, it's going to make things a bit easier. So I'm just going to put it into design view, and move the property over, there we go. And yes, as I thought, supplier ID is an auto number, whereas before in the previous task they had been numbers. Now that means, if you remember, when we had to create new record, we then had to find the maximum number that was there and add 1 to it so that we had what was definitely going to be unique ID. Here we don't need to. The database will do it for us. So this is actually making the job easy for us already. So we've only just got four fields, only 3 of which we're actually going to enter to because that's done automatically for us. We're ready to go. And as it's going to be so easy, to be honest, I don't think it's going to take that long. So let's go into create ourselves a blank form. No, sorry, back to create form. Actually, do you know what? This is that easy. I'm going to use the wizard. So form wizard, use table supplier. I want all the tables on there, and I'm just going to call it FRM supplier and open it to modify the forms design. There we go. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort this out. Actually, let's just have a quick look. Okay, it's open as a table. Close that. Have a quick look. Yeah, so if you're looking at this data is not very big. In fact, that Animal Kingdom keepsakes is the biggest one. So these text boxes are way too big, and the telephone number is definitely going to be very small. So, and it doesn't need to be multi-line either, I don't think, for that matter. So I'm going to go back to design view, and I don't need my field list and get rid of that. And instead I want my property sheet back up. So the supplier, now there should be something in here to show me as being multi-line. I don't want this to be multi-line. I think there's something here to say it's multi-line. Format. Well, do you know what? Let's not worry about the multi-line bit. I can just shrink it down quite easily. I was going to shrink it in, maybe to about there. And that's the same with that one. I definitely don't want, so let's go back to this one. I don't want scroll bars. None. And I'm going to shrink it down to be the same size. That one also don't want that to have scroll bars. And I'm going to shrink it down. If I don't take the scroll bars out, then when I shrink it down to one line, it's going to show me scroll bars there, which I don't particularly want. Right, so now let's see if I can organise these a bit better. So put that one there. Actually, they don't need to do that big, so let's just do these first. Let's do I'm going to line up my labels for the fields. I'm going to give them better names. And then I'm going to line up the fields themselves. So supplier ID, let's put a space in there. Supplier, that's fine, and then I just want a telephone number. And delivery days, put space in there, in which case let's shrink these all down a bit. It might be there. Now let's move these into there. Right, now I'm ready to start formatting this guy. I'm going to bring that into there simply because I'm going to put my buttons up here, just because they'll be too long across the bottom. You see what I mean in a minute. Right, so let's move that out to there, change that to add supplier. And let's go to format, center that. Now I'm going to set this to be green set this to be the same green. I'm going to set that and make it a bit bigger as well. Let's make it 36. Whoop, a bit too big. No, that's fine. I'm going to set that to be the dark green. No, not the fill, the text. There we go. Right, so these guys, I'm going to set them all to be the dark green as well. And then these guys, I'm going to set their shape outline to be the dark green. And I'm also going to set the text to be the dark green. Now, this guy. So, because it's an auto number, we're not actually going to change it. So if I go over to my property sheet, go to data, one of them there is called locked. I'm going to set that to yes, and that means the user can't actually change anything on that. And I'm going to set the fill to be the lightest shade of green, and that's going to show me, hopefully, that it shouldn't be opened. It shouldn't be changed in any way. I think that's the design of it done. Yeah, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is, actually, do you know what? I don't know if that's a bit too subtle, I think. So no, it's fine. I'll leave it at that. Now I'm going to add some buttons. I'm going to add my 3 standard buttons. So start with form operations, close form. Yeah, that's fine. FRM, close form. Add another one. Record, record operations. Add new record. Yeah, use that one. CMD, add new record, and then one more. Record operations, save record. CMD, save record. Now, because we've got this auto number, we don't need to do anything to the add new. We never do anything to the close anyway. It's all about this. Okay. Now, all we want to do is we want to validate that a supplier has been added, a supplier name has been added, and the delivery days comes between 1 and 5 inclusively. Now, and we have to do it in the form. Okay, where in the past we'd have done this in the table as well. Here they want to see that you can do form level validation too. Now, ironically, in the form you can do it in 2 ways. You can actually do it in the exact same as the way we did it for the table. So, for example, if I click on supplier, look under data, you've got the exact same validation rule and validation text, but we could have done that in the table. They want to see us basically writing a macro on the save button, something that will look at the field holistically. So we're going to go to our save button. We're going to go to the event, and we're going to open the macro editor. Now, what we're going to look at to see is before we can do this save record, we're going to look to make sure everything is correct. Okay, so we're going to start with an if. Not if hash, just if. There we go. And I'm going to move that if said. I'm going to move that if. Where is it? Why can't I move? Oh, there we go. I'm going to move the if up above here. It's not letting me move, so I'm going to just use the move up. There we go. Move up. Move up. I want to go above the run command. That's the important bit. It's got to go above the run command. So, first thing I'm going to look at is not null. Oh no, not null. Sorry, it's is null. So if is null for supplier, okay, then I can't save the record, and I'm going to add a message box saying please add supplier name. Ooh, sorry, I'm in capitals. Please add supplier name. And then I'm going to add an else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this run command and I'm going to move it into the else. Okay, and that means this run command is only going to run if that is not true. And I'm now going to add a message box into there. And inside that message box, I'm going to say supplier has been saved. Okay, but also back to this if, I'm going to add what's called an else if. Okay, now else if allows us to check another thing. Okay, and this time we're going to check is null. And this time I'm going to look at this supplier telephone number. And then if that's not null, I'm going to add a message box. And the message box is going to say, what to say? The first one, please add supplier name. So please add telephone number. And then I'm going to add another else if. And I'm going to do the same. Is null. What we called it, delivery days. Yep, there we go. If null, delivery days. Oh, what's going on? Please don't crash. There we go. If null, delivery days. And then inside there, I'm going to create a message box. Inside there, please enter the delivery days. I'm just going to quickly save this, simply because I know I've had a few issues with my computer crashing things, and if it does crash then I'll have to go back all the way back to the beginning. Right, I'm going to add another couple of else ifs though. Well, actually one more else if, okay? Because even if there is a delivery days added, I want to see is it in the right format. So if delivery days is less than 1 or delivery days is greater than 5, I'm going to add a message saying delivery days must be between 1 and 5. I think that's it. So I'm just going to click save and click close. And I'm going to quickly test this. So I'm going to get myself a new record, and I need to put something in, otherwise I've got nothing to save. So Bob's stuff, and I'm trying to save that. And hopefully, please add telephone number. Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's my telephone number. Click save. Days must be, delivery days must be between 1 and 5. Okay, so it's gone straight to that one. It's put 0 in for the delivery day, so I'm never going to get it to be not null, but that's fine because it's now not between 1 and 5. So let's put it to 6. I must select the delivery days. That's actually coming from something that's already there on the table, but I've got enough there to show that it will work. If I put that to 5, then supplier has been saved, and it all works perfectly. All right then. So you've got until the beginning of the next lesson to get that done, and at the beginning of the next lesson we will be looking at the second of the two forms. Okay. Right. What I'm going to be doing with this one is setting it through Teams. So when you finish this, can you please look at the assignments on Teams and set it as complete, please. Set as handed in. Good luck with it.